All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me tonight. I just wanted to kind of share some of my thoughts here with you guys on this Sunday night. One of the analytics I like to do during the off season is the quarterback chaos analytic, is what I call it. And what it essentially it is when you're an offensive coordinator calling a game plan and you're calling passing plays, what percentage of the time when you call the passing plays does the ball actually leave the quarterback's hand in a pass attempt? So the way you figure this out is you look up dropbacks, quarterback dropbacks, and you do the math. You divide the amount of pass attempts by the dropbacks, and you kind of get a percentage of the success rate for the game plan, right? So in 2022, at the end of the 2022 season, I did this, and I just kind of want to share those results with you guys real quick. So we're going to take a look at this. This was last year, right? So you see that the very best of them, Tom Brady, had 4%, but a lot of good quarterbacks were in that 8, 9, 10% range. So this means that, one out of every 10 times you call a pass play, something else happens, whether it's the quarterback scrambling or getting sacked or fumbling. However, 90% of the time when you call a pass play, that's what you're going to get is at least the pass attempt. Then you look, at the bottom row, even some of the more rushing quarterbacks had 14, 15%, something like that. And, I was shocked to find that Justin Fields last year was at 29%. So meaning one out of every three pass plays you call, something else happens. It's a chaotic way to try and game plan or game or call plays as an offensive coordinator when that's happening, right? So I go back to I go back to the Patriots a lot and Bill Belichick. The one thing you always heard out of that organization is just do your job, do your job, do your job. They would sit there and they would draft guys in the later rounds just because they're good at one thing, and then they would put them in a position to where all they needed to do was the one thing that they could do well, right? So what you're looking for in the NFL with just about any player is consistency. If you can get consistency from them, in any aspect, and then you put them in the right position to use their abilities to do that, that's a plan for success. You want guys to be able to, run whatever plays are called and things like that. So I wanted to go and do, I kind of pre-did some of these numbers, but I wanted to go through with you guys and kind of put a list together about this year's quarterbacks and what their percentage of dropbacks versus pass attempts is, right? So let me just share my screen here. We're going to take a look at, and I went through and I got a good handful of quarterbacks here. So we're going to take a look at a lot of them. So first guy we're going to take a look at is Joe Flacco. Essentially, the dropbacks 213 and the pass attempts 204. I know he didn't play a whole bunch, but if you do the math, he actually has an outstanding percentage. So he's looking at about 4%. So 4% of the time, something else happened to Joe Flacco other than a pass attempt whenever he was asked to pass the ball. That's as we saw last year, Tom Brady had that number, but he had it over the course of an entire season, right? So next guy I want to take a look at is Jared Goff. And Jared Goff here, we're looking at 642 dropbacks, 605 pass attempts. So if we do that math real quick, 605 divided by 642, then minus 1, you're looking at 5.7, right? So he's just at around 6%. As a play caller, when you get these kind of numbers, you can feel comfortable about scheming and calling whatever plays you want, because at the end of the day that the guy who's out there is at least going to attempt to run it to what the game plan is. Everybody's got to be on the same page here, right? That's and listen, I'm not saying this is the overall end all statistic. Like, you could still have this number be a little out there and still have success. And we actually saw that this year, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But a guy like Kirk Cousins, we're going to look at next, 331 dropbacks, 311 pass attempts. So if we do that math by 331, we're looking at a percentage of 6% even. Okay, so the next guy we're going to look at is Derek Carr. Like I said, I know these guys didn't all play a full season necessarily, but it's still interesting to look at and kind of compare to some of these numbers amongst the league, right? So Derek Carr had 588 dropbacks and 548 pass attempts. So if we do that math, we're looking at a 6.8%, so about 7%. Okay, next guy, let's take a look at Tua. Yeah, I'm glad that auto spell feature is there because I would not have spelled his name right. But Tua has 609 dropbacks, 561 pass attempts. And if we do the math there, we're looking at 7.8%. So about 8% of the time. Something else other happened than the ball even to his hands. Let's take a look at Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, 567 dropbacks, 521 pass attempts. So let me do the math on that one. 521 divided by 567 minus 1. We're looking at 8.1%. So same thing. Stafford, 8%. Let's take a look at Jordan Love. 633 dropbacks and then 579 pass attempts. So when we do the math and turn that into a percentage, we're looking at the play breaking. Oh, hold on. I did something wrong here. Let me just do it again. 633. We're looking at the play breaking down 8.5% of the time for Jordan Love. So we could put Love at 8%. Give him the benefit of the doubt here. Let's take a look at Joe Burrow next. Like I said, I feel like this is just an interesting little stat to look at and kind of get an idea of how efficient some of these guys are when it comes to the game plans that are being called against them, for them. I'm sorry. So dropbacks for Joe Burrow, 403 attempts, 365. If we do that math real quick, we're looking at 9.4%. So Burrow, 9%. 9%. Let's take a look at Geno Smith next. Geno Smith had 553 dropbacks and 499 pass attempts. 9553. And that is also going to be 9.7%. So in that 10% range. Next, we're going to take a look at Minshew, Gardner Minshew. And even he had 546 dropbacks and 490 pass attempts. So when we do that math, we look at just a little over 10%, 10.2%. And then we're going to take a look at Brock Purdy next. Uh-oh. There we go. Brock Purdy, 498 and 444. So that comes out to be 10.8%. So just about 11% of the time, the play broke down on them when a pass play was called and something else other than a pass happened. And so, this kind of eliminates the design runs too, right? Because if you have a design run, you're not dropping back with the intent to pass. So let's take a look at Dak Prescott here. Dak Prescott had 661 dropbacks and 591 pass attempts, which comes out to be, let me just see here, 661 or 591 divided by 61. which comes out to be 10.5%. So same thing. We'll say 11%. Um, CJ Stroud. When we take a look at CJ Stroud, who had a great year for his rookie year, 562 dropbacks, 499 pass attempts, which comes out to be 11.2% of the time. The play breaks down on him, so 11%. Next guy we're going to take a look at is Baker Mayfield. And Baker had 639 dropbacks, 566 pass attempts, 39. And that comes out to be 11.4% of the time the play broke down on him. Let's take a look at Josh Allen next. Yes, Lord Crimson, let me put that up there. These are just regular season stats. I could look up playoff stats, but as you can see, I am just looking at the regular season. It's a better sample size, so that's what I tend to do. Josh Allen had 579 pass attempts off of 653 dropbacks. So, and he's a little bit more of a running quarterback. So typically with the more running quarterbacks, you get numbers that are a little bit higher. Josh Allen was at 11.3%, which is better than he had last year. Let's take a look at Mahomes, right? Still, I just want you guys to understand as an offensive coordinator, this is kind of what you're dealing with. So as long as a guy is capable of running, 15% and under in this category, I think you're pretty set as a offensive coordinator, being able to call pass plays and kind of having a good expectation of it still being a pass attempt at least, So Patrick Mahomes is at 11.8%. So we'll go 12% of the time the plays broke down. Let's take a look at Justin Herbert. .520 dropbacks, 456 pass attempts. We do that math. We come out with 12.3%. So same thing, 12%. And let's take a look at Trevor Lawrence real quick. Trevor Lawrence had 645 dropbacks and 564 pass attempts. 4 divided by 6. And percentage there we get is 12.5%, right? And, I did some of these numbers, so I'm just going to tell you guys that, Josh Dobbs, Sam Howell, Jalen Hurts, we're all at about 12, 13% as well. The outlier here this year that I kind of want to talk about real quick is going to be Lamar Jackson. So Lamar's number is actually kind of high this year as compared to some of the other years. And I'll share that with you guys. So this year, Lamar had 558 dropbacks and 457 pass attempts. So when we do the math there, it comes out to be 18%, right? And so, like I said, it's not that you can't have success if this percentage is high. However, you see, generally speaking, that most of the quarterbacks out there that are playing have, under 15% when it comes to this analytic. And you can be an outlier here, but I want to share with you guys last year, Lamar in 2022 had 378 pass attempts, or 378 dropbacks and 326 pass attempts, and that wound up being a little bit better of a number. It wanted to be in 13.7%. So I would say he fell off a little bit this year when it came to the execution of the offensive game plan. But of course, the guy I want to get to here is going to be Justin Fields, because his number was so high last year, 29%. I was looking for improvement in this category, and he did make an improvement. But if we see here, 456 dropbacks, 369 pass attempts. If we do that math, guys, we're looking at about 19%, right? So it's close to what Lamar has. Still definitely one of the lowest in the league, right? So yeah, it's in here. Let me see if I can share my other screen. Yes, I can here. Yeah, 456 dropbacks for Justin Fields. Yes. And last year in 2022, he had 444 dropbacks. But yeah, so you could see that, a lot of these numbers are under, 12% and under. Lamar Jackson's kind of the outlier this year, but yeah, it is 1 to 200 less than some others. And Lord Crimson, that's been pretty consistent throughout Justin Fields' career, right? So they do not attempt that many pass attempts with him as they do with other quarterbacks. And part of the reason is because they have designed runs in the game plan too, right? So if you add those in there as well, you get total snaps, and I have not compared those yet, but you can see Fields is still at 19% of the time the play breaking down. So that means 1 out of every 5 pass plays that the offensive coordinator called turned out to be something other than a pass attempt. And that is not necessarily a consistent way to run an offense. It's not a good way to develop trust between the coordinator and the quarterback. And I have these numbers here. In 2021 under Nagy, he was at 24%. And then last year he was at 29%. This year he's at 19%. So like I said, he did improve, but he's still not in that upper echelon of quarterbacks when it comes to this analytics. So, same numbers we saw with Lamar. One thing could be that it might just be hard to call passing plays for running quarterbacks at the end of the day, especially when they're more willing to trust their athleticism and get out of the pocket and try and scramble around and whatnot. So, just wanted to share those analytics with you guys. So thank you for joining me tonight and going through that stuff with me. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all of you watching. And happy Sunday night. So I will definitely. What were his pass attempts in 2021? Lord Crimson wants to know. Well, in 2021, he only played 12 games. So his pass attempts were 270 and 353 dropbacks. So out of 353 to throw 270, like I said, you get 23.5% of the time of the pass plays that were called breakdown and wound up being something else other than a pass attempt. So yeah, those numbers have been up there for a while, and that's one of the concerning things is when you see Justin Fields have opportunities to throw and not pulling the trigger. That's how you wind up with situations like this. So yeah, hopefully he can continue to improve one way or another. He's going to have to. Like I said, this league thrives on any kind of consistency, especially from the quarterback position. So when you can get that out of a player, it is, you have a lot easier time calling a game plan as a coordinator. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. Appreciate all of you.